Hi, I'm Leonie West from Westalee Design, and I'm going to show you our Spinifex curly Q. All our curly Qs work the same way. We are working with the 11.5 curly Q in this case. I've put a couple of pieces of stable tape onto the template to help keep that stable with my fabric. I've brought my threads up from the back. I'm going to hang on to the tails when I sew. We made a change in our curly Q template. One of the great things about designing the templates is that if I find something that works better in the templates, I can make that alteration for our templates. And in this case we have a slot here for moving our template out past the foot. So when I sew down along here and round here, and I could stop here or here, or go back to the center, when I want to move that template out, all I have to do, I'll just put it up this way for the camera shot, is move my template across and slide my template past the needle and the foot. Very easy, very simple. One of the advantages, this is a template that we only ever have to sew along one side. I have never sewn on this side of my template. All my sewing is always done on one side. So I don't have a key in here in this case now. And that way, if I lose the key, I don't have to go hunting for it. It's not necessary, and we do have templates which use a key, and they will always have a key. But if the template is only to be sewn down one side of the template, then the key can be changed to a slot. So I'm going to sew this one. So with the curly Qs, what we do is, starting in the center, I'm going to sew along here, and what I'm doing is only riding my foot on one side of my template. I'm not going on the side where the slot is. It is on, as we're looking at, the left hand side. When I come up to here, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop in line with the line that we have marked on the template here. I'm going to take my template and just move it down through the channel, lift it up past my needle and foot. I'm going to flip the template over, so now it's upside down. I'm going to just put it back in past the needle and the foot. I'm going to make sure that it is aligned at the center, so I'm just going to turn this around so you can see what I'm doing. I'm aligning my center here and making sure that's in the correct position here, and my template is touching so that it is in line with the line where we stopped. I'm now going to sew the other side. And I'm going to go around. I'm going to travel down the length of the template. If you notice, my foot is riding against this side of the template, not this side where the slot is. And when I get back to the center, I'm going to stop in the center. I'm now going to just very quickly lift that template, move it past the needle and the foot, flip it over, bring it back in, bring it back into position. I'm going to allow about a 1/4 inch up here, and I'm going to travel up to the top again. If I want my curly Qs to be different sizes, then I will be using different templates for each of those sizes. Move your fingers when you need to, keep holding and moving that template. If your fingers get into a position which is not comfortable, just move them. I'm going to come back to here, and just to show you how easy it is to turn that template, we're just going to move it over past the needle, flip the template over, bring it back past the needle again. I'm going to align this line here with my needle. I'm going to make sure my center is in position again, and I'm going to come around here. I'm going to stop at that line again. Just gives you an idea of different things we can do with our curly Qs. Turn the template, flip it over, back in the position again. Lining that line up again, make sure my center's in the correct position, and we'll go all the way back to the center this time. Remember, when you're using templates, that you just need to relax. Do not press too hard. Do not press down on the fabric. The stable tape helps keep your templates in the correct position, and moving your template and your fabric at the same time is much easier with stable tape on. So I'll just move that out of the way. See how easy it is to move a template. I'm going to put another one the same as here next to this. I'm just building this pattern as I go. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. We'll find out. So we're going to go again. Again, we are only sewing down one side of that template. We do not need to sew on the other side. But the advantage is that you don't have to stick a key in because we're only working down one side. And we're back to here. So now I've got to decide what I'm going to do, and I'm going to come back to this line again. Curly cues are fabulous. You can do so much with a curly cue. I'm going to turn this again for you so you can see what I'm doing. I'm now going to take the template out again, flip my template over, bring it back past the foot, past the needle. I don't have to lift my foot to get it past that needle and foot. All we're doing is moving it around. I'm going to come back over to here. I'm going to go to that line again, but this time I'm actually going to backtrack because I want this to come down back to the centre from here. We don't have to complete a full curly cue. We can do part of a curly cue if we want. And we're back to the middle again. This time I'm just going to move that template across. I'm going to allow myself that 1/4 inch spacing here, and I'm going to do a full circle at the top of my curly cue. But I'm still only riding on one side of the template. My foot is just going past where that slot is. If I want to make a full circle on here, I just go around and just let it kick up and freehand that last portion of the circle. So we're back to where we started there again. I'm going to come back to this centre point now. Any of these designs that I'm doing here can be used on their own, just repeated around a circle. Or you can fiddle and play like I'm doing. I'm going to take my template off again, bring it back in, flip it over, back into here. I'm going to do the full circle next to this one here, making sure my centre is in line there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around here, I'm going to float off to here, I'm going to go up to the top, I'm going to come back now. But I'm only ever travelling on one side. And back to the centre again. So now I have two little circle curly cues next to each other. I'll do another one. But I think you'll agree that having the slot instead of the key in here does make it easy. It's not difficult. All we have to remember is we just sew down one side, and I've only ever sewn down one side of my curly cues. The curly cue was designed to work sewing down the one side. It does have a 1/2 inch channel that you run in, but that is not the important part. The important part is this template was designed to sew along here, round here, come back and back down, always riding the foot on this portion of the template. This is the curly cue that I've just sewn. It's just playing. I haven't created a pattern that repeats or anything. I'm just showing what you can do with a curly cue. In here was the first one we did, where I took my curly cue around here and down and back. So I have this linking part here. I've then come around and I've repeated on both sides to give it an echo. Just one with two little linked ones in the middle. I haven't done this before, and I thought that looked very interesting. To do that, I sewed one curly cue, moved the template, and I sewed the next curly cue to the centre line marked on the template. I then moved the template across, went round, came back, and sewed back to the middle. So if I put them in here, I've got 2, 1, This one here I've left a loop on. This one here I didn't put the loop on, so it's just come round and back to the centre, and one here and followed. So you could create a pattern where you're using the repeat of these and work your way around. In here I've added a little detail. This is something I like doing. It's using the same template. I'm repeating and mimicking the line that I've sewn, so it gives me a really nice, I call them a stamen or a little flick, and they're done using the same template. So I'll put the curly cue back in, straight over, bring it up to the centre. I'm going to line up my curly cue so that the line is going to be sewing in line with where I ended here, and I'm just going to sew up to the line of where our slot to enter the template is. So I'm going to sew up to there. When I get to that line, I'm going to stop. This doesn't have to be exact. This can be, I'm just having a problem with my foot pedal hitting the drawer underneath. And I'm just going to sew up to that line, and then I'm going to come backwards. Remembering we're still running on sewing against one side of the template only. Stop in the centre. I'm going to turn that round. This time I'm going to line that top up again, and I'm going to sew up to the higher line, and that will put that little stamen in a longer one. I could go as far as I want with this one, so I'm going to stop in line with that one, come back down. When I get to go and do the next one, I'll come up further. This gives you an extra detail to your quilting. That's very simple to do, so we're just turning this again, and this time I'm going to sew right up to the end. I'm just getting that in line here. Stopping here and coming backwards. And stopping in the middle. So we have sewn different lengths on those stamens. Another thing I can do is I'm going to use my template so that I'm going to stop on that stitch there, and I'm going to go all the way up to there, and then I'm going to go back to the centre again. I just thought this would look interesting, so we'll see. So we're going to come up to here, we're going to stop and go backwards. It's going to give an echo of our main curly cue line. When I get to the centre, I'm going to stop, just pick up my template, turn it over, put it back in place. I'm going to do the same, aiming for that same line coming from the other direction. And we're going to wind up back where we were aiming for. We're still only riding on the side of the template that is complete. These little details are things that you can do with many of our tools, our spin effects. For example, you can do it with the clamshells, and we're just going to take the template away, and that's the little detail I just did then, which is another way of using the curly cue.